thing at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just so weird. It's so weird. Oh my goodness. All right. So we are live in StreamYard and we are going live in Instagram now, which is awesome. So again, I want to welcome everyone to Run Wild with us. And you know what? You can ask us anything. I'm Lisa Kastner. I'm the founder of Cecilia Kennedy, one of our acquisition editors, and we are also going to be publishing one of her amazing novels. So, yay! And typically we are here minimally with Benjamin White, who I'm not positive will be with us today just because it's his 21st birthday.
Yes.
So I think he has to go
well.
celebrate.
This is water. This is
exactly.
Not
This is
filled
just
with
water.
tequila.
No. He's just running a little bit late with us. He's just running a little bit late. So with all that said, wanted to put out there. So we've been getting a lot of inquiries about like, so have you done your acquisition session yet? And blah, blah, blah. Yes, we officially did our latest acquisition session last night. We were able to whittle down, I think it was originally like 737 submissions down to, what was it, like 50 something that we went through?
Like that. Yeah.
Something like that last night. And then, so all the official declines as well as acceptances went out last night. We actually sent a total of 30 acceptances. And so far we've heard back from 11 of those who had submitted works. And I thought what we could do is talk a little bit about, we can talk about this submission process or like the experience of being in an acquisition session, because typically when it's someone's first time being in one of our acquisition sessions, they're like, oh my God, this isn't as horrific as I had imagined. Because usually most editors are also writers as well, right? And I know, at least for me, I can build stuff up in my head like you would not believe. Just imagining what people are like, like, oh my God, who does she think she is writing, blah, blah, blah. Like, so when someone is actually in one of our acquisition sessions, they're like, oh, wow, this wasn't horrific. And I don't feel so insecure anymore. But since we don't have, I figured let's wait until we at least have Peter. Like I said, I already know he is running late. So, but we did get a couple of really, actually pretty awesome questions already about the process. So the first question, we do have Ben. Oh, good. We get to humiliate him in person. Woohoo!
Yeah. Happy 21st.
Happy 21st birthday.
Woo! Again.
We were just
when you're young and they tell you many more, happy birthday and many more. This is one of the many more.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's how it's supposed to be. So, duh.
I'm glad to have it.
So with that, we were just talking about that. We just had our acquisition session, and I know Peter's going to be a little bit late. So I thought we could talk about that experience, like openly, both from the perspective of a writer as well as an editor, right? Since we all fall into those categories. But I also thought we've already been getting some really cool questions from those who've received acceptance letters. And so I thought, we could kind of respond to some of those.
Sure.
So the first one that I got was a lovely young woman. It seems as though she has the workout to several, both publishers as well as agents. And her question was, how fast do we need a response? And is it okay if she does get an agent with this, is it okay if we basically accept it through the agent? So part one, congratulations. I mean, having an interest from multiple publishers, that's huge, right? Mm-hmm. And, not that she asked this because she didn't, but it's really, really, really important to think about what your priorities are and what you want to have happen with the work. Because, and I don't know who the other publishers are, but let's say she submitted the piece to like a university press nonprofit, us, and like a major house, right? Mm-hmm. Each one is going to have she'll have a very different experience in terms of both the editing process as well as getting it to market and after it's in market. And their purpose for getting the book to market is also going to be very different, right? So like a university press that's a nonprofit, you're probably not going to get a lot of publicity and marketing behind it. It's probably going to more so be along the academic lines. And if what she wrote isn't along more academic lines, that means a lot of the PR and marketing will most likely fall in her lap, right? So, and also be aware of, in my opinion, in all cases, ask who the editors might be. And if she has a preference in terms of an editor, definitely put that out there. Don't necessarily have it in the contract, but have it so that she has an understanding. Because if you're getting an academic editor, they're going to be more focused on ensuring that, like commas are used correctly. And or versus like an academic editor who's very conceptual, right? But the end game feel of the work that is published at the end of the day is going to be very, very different than, let's say, if she goes with like Simon and Schuster's one of their imprints, and that she may feel like she's more a part of a machine, which is the feedback I've gotten from, because we've published quite a few authors who started off actually with major houses, and the whole reason they left the major house was because they just felt like it was just in a part of a machine of just like, all right, get it in, get it out. Let's see who picks it up. Oh, look, nobody. Okay, well, poop on that. Moving on, right? So, or, a ton of people. Okay, how fast can you generate a follow-up book, and can you get it to us in under like 6 months, right? So then we can get it to market within like 12 to 18 months or something like that, right? So, again, it's thinking about, what your goals are. And then the question of, can she come back to us regarding with an actual agent? Absolutely. We do take agented submissions. And as always, and this is actually another question I just got, can they take the time to share the contract with someone like a lawyer or someone from the Writers Guild or what have you? Absolutely. And as always, if you have any questions regarding the contract itself, feel free to reach out, whether you're more comfortable in chatting about it through email or, through like an actual, like a Zoom call, whatever you're most comfortable with. Because at the end of the day, yes, we want to get your great work out there, and we made you an offer because we think the work on its own is already fantastic, or that with partnering with one of our incredible editors, it can become something that's amazing. So keep that in mind. So the next big question that we get a lot is, so what are the next steps in your process, and who will be my point of contact? Now, at this point, both Cecilia and Ben have been around long enough. They know the answer to these questions. So I don't know. Cecilia, do you want to take that one on?
Sure. Sometimes an author will request an editor, and that's always really fun to get somebody who's requested you. So I'll go ahead and take a look at what I have on my table right now and see the soonest that I could get somebody in. And usually it's within a few months that I can usually get somebody in. Sometimes it's up to 3 or 4. As an author, I had an editor pick my story up from Running Wild Press right away. This was back in January, I think it was. And she said, it's going to be a while. I've got 4 manuscripts before yours. And I thought, yeah, well, I know what that's like, because I'm an author too. So I'm an editor too. So yeah, I didn't want to wait that long, but and I wasn't sure how long I was going to have to wait, but I get it. Like, I understood. So that was back in January. She picked it up in July. So it takes a little while sometimes before your editor's able to help you out, because we do have day jobs and other manuscripts in between. So you're working with people who absolutely love what they're doing, and when they have the time, they put all of their energy into your manuscript, and they love it. So your point of contact at that point is your editor. And your editor is going to help you go through some developmental editing, some line editing. Together, you'll proofread. You'll hold on to that manuscript with your editor for as long as you need to feel comfortable with sending it out to the world. So that can take a while. That can take a few more months or longer. And you and your editor will go back and forth with anything that you're feeling insecure about, anything that you think that you want to tweak. That's your opportunity to work it out. So you do that. And while you're in between drafts, it's probably a good idea to get your back cover going, your dedication, if you're going to have a dedication, your acknowledgments, your log line. You can start thinking about those things. And then your editor will put together a whole file folder for you, and then it goes on to Lisa and the production side. So after that, I don't know what happens, but I know that the authors are very happy with their with the rest of the process, because they usually don't come back and beg me. Like, I don't hear from them again until like it's all over and it's fun and they're happy. But I don't hear any complaints ever about the production side, and from what I can tell, it's fabulous as well. So I'll let Lisa talk about that side, but that's kind of what I've experienced as an editor so far.
Ben, how about do you want to add anything or?
Yeah, well, it's when you get in the queue and you've got your editor assigned, and the editor comes back and says, well, I'll be happy to do it, but I'm 3 novels deep, and that's going to push me out 6 months. And that's actually a good sign, because if you have an editor who's ready to skip work to get to yours, you might be in danger of having your work skipped to get to somebody else's. So it's really an indicator that we do care about the author we're working with at the time. And I don't think any of our editors, they might have 2 projects going on at once, but definitely not 3. And the 2 are still going to prioritize the one they've been working with the most so far. And they've just hit a spot where, okay, it's back in the author's hands. I don't want to just goof off. So I'll go ahead and start that second one and at least get it laid out and start the work on it, the preliminary work on it. So, but that's a good sign. That's what you want. You want the editor's attention when it's your turn. When you come up and it's one-on-one, that's what you want.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we actually have an amazing production team. Kimberly is our product manager. Evangeline is our head of operations. So you would be working directly with Kimberly on everything that Cecilia mentioned around cover design, formatting, getting the epilogue in, the prologue, if you so choose, epilogue, if you so choose, bio, so forth and so on. She'll walk you through it. She's been around with us for a long time. So is Evangeline, and they work incredible together. And we also provide a slew of materials for you around the marketing and promotion of your work to kind of, because I know it can be really incredibly overwhelming when it comes to getting your book out there. And there's so much information. I wouldn't necessarily call it misinformation. I think it's more so information that was put out in the web or a library or what have you at a point in time. And this is one of those industries that it is constantly evolving and it's constantly changing. So what worked really well 6 months ago may not work at all, next year. So it's kind of keeping that in mind and looking at that holistically. Typically, I'd say most books, the editing process usually takes 3 to 6 months, something like that. And then it's usually 12 to 18 months after that it actually goes to market. So the industry average is like 2 years after a book has been acquired, from what I understand. I mean, and that's like across the board. So just, again, keep that in mind as well. Because, you may say, you know what, I don't want to wait that long. You don't have to, right? You can go ahead and self-publish. Just understand what the repercussions are if you choose to do that. So when
it goes to when it does go to production, it's not like your editor is out of the picture and you don't have access. Because
right, yeah.
there have been times when there have been times when I've either helped with the cover design and, hey, what's your idea? You've read it. What do you think? Does this work? And so you're there as a safety net or an extra set of eyes or a third party. And then I remember one time there was a short story that had a word misspelled on purpose. It was for effect. And production said, well, that word's misspelled. Let me correct it. And the author came back to me and said, we didn't want that corrected. I said, we'll let them know. We can, it still can be fixed. And so it's not like, okay, next. There's a relationship there with your editor, and there's a relationship there with Double E and Kimberly in production.
Oh, absolutely. And honestly, if something comes up that Evangeline or Kimberly don't know the answer to, they always actively come back to us and just ask, right? Which is fabulous because, there may be some kind of special situation as well, like what Ben just described. And, and that they just may not know or understand. So they just want to make sure that, again, we all want to make sure we're doing what's best for you and for the work itself. And now we have the phenomenal Peter. So we've been... Oh, no, all good. So we already congratulated Ben on his 21st birthday.
Now you can have a beer, finally.
Yeah.
He deserves it.
He does. He deserves it. And now we're basically walking through some of the questions that we've gotten so far from authors who had submitted their works, and we accepted it. And so right now what we're talking through is we talk through like what the process is and who the points of contact are once you've begun that process. And this next question kind of confuses me, but I'll also reply to the authors directly as well. And the question was, when can I expect the publishing agreement? I'll plan on a couple of weeks to review it once it arrives. So and I double checked to make sure that I actually did do this. Whenever we actually send an acceptance note, we also include a contract template so that the author can go ahead and review it themselves, share it with someone they trust, and come back with any questions that they may have. So that the agreement's already been provided. If the question is, all right, game on, I want to, sign. It's once you've actually come back to us and let us know, all right, yeah, this looks good to me. Then I'll actually send it out for your and my signature together. So, what does the next question is, what does the anticipated timeline to publication look like for a novel accepted now? For any novel on average, and I know we already talked to this, but just in case, it is typically about 2 years from the time the book is acquired. It's a couple months from the time the book is acquired to when it's actually an author is, or not an author, an editor is chosen or accepts the work. And then but then it's usually about 18 months to 2 years once you started working with that editor. So I don't know if anyone has anything they want to add. That's weird. No, Peter's showing up twice. Which, hey, rock on. But
oh my goodness.
And now you can say one thing and then say the exact opposite. That'll be cool.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, no.
Welcome to Ben's 21st celebration. We're seeing double already.
And he hasn't even had his shot of tequila yet.
I know.
Let's see.
I think that 2 years is a good safe estimate to manage expectations. 18 months. Again, it depends on the complexity of the editing. Some projects are done in a month, some are done in 6 months. Some linger longer. And it depends on the author's vision, the editor's time frame, the editor's vision for it. So, but I would say 2 years is a good place to start to manage expectations. And then if it comes in before that, great. If it goes on after that, you'll know the reasons why.
Mm-hmm. And also, things happen in people's lives, the authors. So if they get sick or there's a loss in the family or a death or something, the editors are not going to make you work through that. I mean, unless you want to, if that's your grieving process, that's fine. But we're not going to force you to be like, well, this is the deadline and this is what you need to do. We understand when things come in the way. And so having that 2-year time frame also factors that in, as well. Anything that might come up for the author or sometimes for the editor too.
Yeah.
Also, as you're going through the editing process, as you dig into the story and the author is able to expand on certain aspects, certain sections and themes and characters, then the story gets more rich. It's going to be more involving with the editorial process going forward because more is being discovered and the book is being improved and expanded upon throughout the process. So it's going to require some going back and some more fine tuning on sections that weren't there in the first draft. So there are several factors.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, I'm going through to see what other questions. So far, most of the questions are more so around not understanding. So like when we send you an acceptance and we ask you to click on that you acknowledge and accept, the next step is literally I just send the contract out to yourself and myself to sign. And then at that point, that's when we start sending it out for to look for an editor who's on our team to start that editing process. So nothing weird. I actually got a really interesting question from an author. She sent us a book that I think she originally positioned as historical fiction. But what it really is she had listened to stories. She grew up hearing stories about World War II from her mother. And this is a re-representation of that. So obviously parts of it, are fictionalized because she wasn't there. Duh, right?
Mhm.
So her question was, how does she position this? Is it a memoir? Is it creative nonfiction? So my position to her was something like that we would position as creative nonfiction, and just ask that there's some kind of prologue explaining that this is basically a retelling of the experiences from her mother's point of view
Mhm.
as she had shared them with her growing up. So I wanted to find out from you guys, like, what do you think?
I think that sounds great. In fact, with a prologue, you can build the storytelling into that. In that case, I'm sitting here and I'm listening to these stories that my mother tells to me about this time in her life. I think that actually works, so that you can frame it and let people know how you're coming into this knowledge of this time that you didn't live. So yeah.
I would
And
what's that?
I was just going to ask, what are your thoughts?
I would approach it from a perspective of Juno Diaz and Kurt Vonnegut, because both of them play with plot with so much elasticity and so much breadth of storytelling that they break the bounds of traditional framework of storytelling, and they can include things that they didn't experience but imagine them happening, so that it's a a through line that the story carries through, while also admitting that I wasn't there while this was happening, but this is my experience of what was going on at that moment.
Mm-hmm.
So introduce it as such, saying that parts of this are made up, but this is the best that I could do to fill in the gaps to make the story make sense.
Yeah. And that's where I think that's where the creative part comes into the nonfiction. Because I was thinking of Planting Onions, the memoir that's written.
In verse, yeah.
Yes, a lot of poetry in it, but also some letters from 80 years later, using letters to respond to her father's letters. And this is when she found the letter in the box, and she's just replying to a letter 80 years later, and that was a nice creative touch. So the creative part opens it up to where you don't have to say, okay, this is what I'm doing. I wasn't there, duh, and then you don't have to explain it. You can just use a creative method to fill the reader in. Oh, this is what's going on. I got it. And that elasticity is a good word Peter used. You've got some room there, some creative elasticity.
Yeah, absolutely. That's all great. Great positioning, great feedback. So another question, interestingly, is an author who has the manuscript out with multiple agents and publishing houses asks, what is our, from an editorial perspective, what is our creative vision for the work? So I don't know if you guys want to attack that.
I'll jump in there and steal something that Peter said many times with the work that he got, and the author said, well, this is top 10 material already, and Peter said, well, let's make it top 5, and so that's the vision of making it the best it can be, even though the author is going to come back and say, oh, I've had this professionally edited, it's ready to go. Why are you reading it? And well, because we want to make sure that it's ready to go at the highest level that's possible. And there's nothing ever wrong with another set of eyes on any work, and because there's always something, even when it's been edited over and you've read it 1,000 times, there's still something you can find and say, let's change that. Let's make it better.
And the author can push back as well. They can say, "This is why I see this in this way. I worked with this editor before. Why do you see it this way?" And that opens a dialogue to give you the opportunity to explain your point of view, saying, "Okay, I understand where you're coming from, but from a different perspective, this could mean this, this, or this as a whole." And that opens a whole new discussion to expand or reduce that aspect of the story. Just gives a different perspective for them to consider.
Yep, absolutely. And honestly, every editor is gonna, although all of our editors go through the same process in terms of everyone takes the same tests, everyone has to pass the same tests, I guess you could say, before they can be accepted as an editor with us. The reality is, Peter versus Ben versus Cecilia versus myself versus the dozen folks that work with us in an editorial capacity, everyone's going to have a different approach. But everyone's also going to have the same end game goal, which is to make sure this can be the absolute best work it possibly can be. So,
right.
So someone asked, is there someone at Running Wild I can speak with? Running Wild, it seems, has less than stellar online reviews, and while I'm interested in publishing with a small independent publisher, I'm reluctant to publish with Running Wild. So again, I'd love to speak with either to you or someone at the press to get a better sense of what I could expect if I move ahead with you. So it's a little difficult to by the way, I gave him my Calendly account so he could set up time with me and we can just talk through it. It's a little hard to respond to something like that because we don't know what kind of reviews are being referenced, first of all, because that could be the person went on Facebook or Twitter and someone who we declined got pissed off and decided they went on a rampage about what jackasses we are, which, all good, no harm, no foul. It could be somebody, and I've actually seen this. A book has a dozen positive 5-star reviews on Amazon. One, oh, Suzanne's so kind. Nonsense, you guys are great. One 1-star review, and the 1-star review is somebody who's referencing, clearly it's not the same book, right? The book they're reviewing is a memoir, and they're talking about, like a middle grade fiction book. So, and even just comparing the description of the book that we published to that review, it's obvious that there's a disconnect. And for whatever reason, like Amazon didn't, flag it. We have one instance where a book, someone said they were absolutely loving the book. So this one I can speak to explicitly. No fucks given by nobody fucking important. All 5-star reviews. 1-star review, and the guy was like, "Oh my god, I love this book," but then like the last 100 pages were missing. So we actually reached out to the person personally and said, "Give us your contact information and we'll send you a replacement for free." So, without the context of what is being referenced, it's a little hard to address like a blanket statement like that, if that makes sense. I don't know. What do you guys think?
We were being trolled on Facebook there a couple of times where we had just said, here's Running Wild Press, submit with us. And we were getting comments of, is this a genuine publisher? And then people were coming back and saying, no, it's when you click on it, it's just bait to click on, which it wasn't. But it was so, and I'm sure that's some of that is, well, I saw it on Facebook and I saw the comments below, you submit with us. And so just triangulate and do some homework. And if we're a good fit for you, we're a good fit.
Yeah.
I mean, not that it's so easy to leave a negative review if you're in a bad mood and you've got a bug up your sleeve or whatever like that. But I mean, do your research, like Ben said. Look at the book we published. Reference them on Amazon. See who's bought them. See what sales they've had. See what the reviews are overall. That these are books that are being submitted in raw form, and we're turning them into finished products that are selling. I mean, how much more proof can you have that this is a legitimate press? I mean, it's not taking money. We're not asking for money. We don't expect money. But here's our finished product, and we've got dozens, if not hundreds, of books out there to prove it. So I mean, but the proof's in the pudding. What more could you ask for?
Just the person who asked this question wanted to know more. What kind of negative reviews were they reading? Were they thinking that this is not a legitimate press? Were they thinking they're going to hate their editor? I'm not sure what the negativity is, because I mean, when I run a search, I mostly see all the great things that Lisa's doing, and then all of the publicity for Running Wild Press. I'm not on Reddit. Reddit has lots of stuff, I think, on everything, every topic you could come up with. But I think it's also like teacher reviews and doctor reviews. You're going to get, a mixed bag of things. In fact, some of the doctors that I've gone to have gotten really terrible reviews from people, but I haven't experienced that myself, so I don't know where they're coming from. So, read the interview with Lisa on Women Writers is what Suzanne is suggesting. So, yeah,
well, I feel like I should do that. I don't even know what that is. I'm sorry. I should just be quiet. Go ahead.
Yeah. But the person who asked you this question, what was the concern? Was it that we're not a legitimate press, or that they're worried about editors or the process, or?
It's interesting. It's so vague, because it's just like, is there someone at Running Wild I could speak with? Running Wild, it seems, has less than stellar online reviews. And while I'm interested in publishing with a small independent publisher, I'm reluctant to publish with Running Wild. So again, I'd love to either speak to you or someone at the press to get a better sense of what I could expect if I move ahead with you. So that, to me, implies they're looking at behind this, they're looking at a Reddit. Do you know what I mean? So
but the Reddit is from the one that I'm seeing is from 4 years ago. It's not even.
I have no idea. Yeah, I mean, there's no links to what the reviews are. There's no. It's just very the cynical part of me that just demonstrates I'm my father's daughter is this person wrote that just to see if they could, get more personalized attention, or a bigger upfront, or, but, first of all, I'm not, everybody has bad reviews. Now, that's not to be offhand or.
Well, why would you submit to us in the first place, though?
Right. And honestly, typically, in a very polite way, when we usually get responses like this, I ask them to reach out to some of our authors. Don't ask me to tell you who to reach out to, because clearly I'm going to probably give you names of people that I'm friends with through our processes, or people that I'm very proud of their work, which I'm proud of all of our people's work. But so I prefer that you reach out, you go and look at our catalog, and to Cecilia's point, reach out to those authors that you think sound interesting and ask them what was their experience like, and if they had any other recommendations. And honestly, I was just gonna say, every time I'll tell you, especially if you have your book out with multiple publishers, if there's another publisher you're interested in, go for it. I mean, the bottom line, this is your life, right? This is your story. You need to feel like this is worth it to you. But don't make a decision just because someone made you an offer. You need to do something that is going to make you happy. So, I don't know.
I just also want to mention that when you are accepted, there's nothing that you pay for. You don't pay for any of your editors. You don't pay for your publication. In fact, you get a little bit of a stipend when your book is finished and it goes to press. So when you're assigned an editor, they really do want to work with you, and they're not expecting you to pay them extra under the table to work on your manuscript. So there's that as well. If that helps make a decision, because I know that there are a lot of presses out there that they might accept your work. It might be competitive and they might accept your work, but then after that, if you want to work with an editor, it's a little extra there. If you want this, it's a little extra that you pay for out of pocket. And we don't do that.
No, we don't. And again, going back to the like Shonda Buchanan's The Lost Songs of Nina Simone was named the best poetry book of the year by the Black Caucus of the American Library Association. Anne Michelle Harris, her book North, which is the first of a 4-part series, was named the best science fiction and fantasy book of Georgia this year. We were actually asked to submit several of our books to the National Book Award last year and this year, and several of our books to the Penn Literary Awards. So
yeah,
if it's quality of finished product, I don't know. I just think you should take everything into consideration and just think about what you want. So, and honestly, I think that those were all the questions that I saw. Have you guys gotten any additional questions or feedback?
No, I've just gotten comments that they're thrilled to be published by us, that they're excited to work with us. I mean, getting a book accepted is so friggin' hard to
it is hard.
Obtain.
We've sat through the acquisitions. We know.
Oh, that the other night, yeah. I mean, it's a struggle. We had long conversations about several books, and I mean, to have that opportunity extended to you, I mean, I hate cliches, but gift horse mouth. I mean, come on, this is an opportunity to get your work, your ideas, your thoughts, and your writing out into the world from a legitimate press. I mean, they're just not doing their homework enough. They're not doing enough homework to realize that what the opportunity that we're giving them, that we're offering to them.
Well, and honestly,
and to be involved in the process.
Right.
It's not being done to you; it's being done with you.
Yeah.
Right. And you have much more say and input into a small press than you do with a large press. Per Ben's point.
Yeah. And don't forget, I mean, we've had several authors that, I mean, their books from a reputation, I guess you could say, perspective, like their books were named Best of the Year by Kirkus Reviews. It was named like groundbreaking by Indie Reviews. I've actually, at least me, I've actively told them, hey, if you want to take this and use it as a platform to get a really well-known agent or, go with a major house, you should do it, right? This is just a point in time. It's your life. Your life, at least my life has. I mean, it's going to change dramatically over the course of your whole life, right? You are going to have so many opportunities. There's going to be so many amazing things that goes on in your life. Take into consideration to exactly what Ben and Peter and Cecilia are saying. Where are you right now in your journey as a storyteller? Does this fit? Does this offer fit for you, this point in time for you? And if you feel like the answer is no, then don't accept the offer. If you feel like the answer is yes, then fabulous. And then if you feel like later on that you want to move on to someplace else, then that's what you should do, right? No harm, no foul.
Mm-hmm.
So,
right.
And we've had those. We've had authors come back and say, "Oh no, I don't like this in the contract. No, I don't like this, or no, I've got another offer." and we'll tell you. We'll be the first to tell you, congratulations, go.
Mm-hmm.
It's-
But to Lisa's point, you're holding a bound book. You've got books that have been printed professionally, and you're holding a book as opposed to a Word doc. You know, somebody believed in you enough to publish your work, and you can use this to move forward and move up if you want. So you've got something that says, I am an author. You know, we've given you that. We've helped you to accomplish that, as opposed to a Word file on a computer.
So now, actually, Cecilia and I were waiting for you two because we wanted to talk about, since last night we just did the acquisition process, we wanted to talk about, so what was that? Now, both Ben and Peter, admittedly, you guys have been through this far too many times, but I would love for you guys to talk about your experience in the acquisition session, both from the perspective of being a part of the conversation and an acquisition editor, as well as that contrast of what was it as an author, because we've all been there, right?
Mhm.
What did you think was going to happen?
Oh my God.
And yeah, like I'd love to hear that, because I just think there's a certain like humanity within
Yeah.
that middle, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
So I got up the nerve to submit a manuscript. This was the last round of acquisitions. It wasn't this one, to Running Wild Press. And then I realized I'm going to be in the meeting where everybody decides whether or not this is going to be acquired. And I was sweating bullets. I was like, Ben's going to say it's awful. Like, it's going to be like, and I'm going to be in the room. In fact, at one point when it did come up on the screen, I got up out of my chair and I said, I'm leaving. You all talk amongst yourselves. And everyone said, sit back down. You're going to hear this. And it was fantastic. I mean, it wasn't nearly as scary as I thought it was going to be. I mean, I got to hear, what, we go through each manuscript with care. And when we talk about whether or not we want to keep a manuscript or not, we do actually, it's not an easy decision to make, especially if you have to reject one. I mean, some, they maybe don't follow the guidelines, or it's just really not the right fit. Those are maybe the easier rejections, but there are quite a few where we are discussing them and really thinking about, okay, and sometimes we're like, well, maybe we sometimes need to reach out to the author in some cases to find out a little bit more about the manuscript. So I really feel like we have a team that really cares about the authors, that cares about the Running Wild Press brand, and it cares about the readers, how readers respond to this as well. So I felt like it's a really good process. Everyone has a chance to, okay, Cecilia, you put maybe, why? You put no, why? We all defend our answers and have it out a little bit, but I mean, in a friendly way, not.
I was going to say cocaine is not involved. There's not a fist fight.
Right. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't know if cocaine's involved or not. In my house, it's not. But I can't speak for anyone else.
No.
I don't know, Peter. What do you think? What has been your experience, and maybe explicitly, like especially with like last night, considering we were reviewing both works under your imprint, Trompe-l'oeil, as well as the broader submissions, and also from the perspective of someone who's submitted his work. Yeah.
I really like that there was many of us on the call, so we had many different points of view to decide which manuscripts worked. And like Cecilia was saying, it's like, why did you? I mean, you were great at this, Lisa, saying, why did you say yes or why did you say no? I mean, not forcing us to defend our position, but saying, give us insight into why you thought this way, because I kind of liked it. But there were several manuscripts that I just found myself just reading, just going through. I'm like page 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and I'm just going along like I'm reading a book at the beach. It's like, okay, well, this is a good book. It's got me interested. I want to read more. Okay, so that merits a yes. There's some that the writing's there, the tension's there, but there's just something off about the manuscript. So it's like, I want to like it, but it's a maybe for me because I want to hear what other people have to say.
Mm.
And then there's other instances where I'm reading something, it just doesn't hit right. I mean, it's
Mhm.
trying too hard. The images are just all over the place. They're throwing stuff at the wall, just trying to see what sticks. And nothing makes sense. And the images are there that hold the story together. And I mean, it becomes a no that it just you can't get through it because you're winding through like a junkyard, the trash filled backyard, trying to get to what the point is.
Yeah.
So, I mean, sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's difficult. When it's difficult to make a decision, you throw a maybe in there because let's talk about this. You know, it's a soft maybe, it's a hard maybe, but you know, I want to give everybody the opportunity that we can to publish. But some authors, you know, they're almost there. They're 85% there. Give us another draft. Go back and just run through this one more time. Workshop it one more time, and
Yeah.
then send it back to us. We like it, but it's not quite there yet.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Ben, what do you think?
I think with the panel itself has so many different perspectives on so many different factors that ultimately, if you say yes or no or even maybe, chances are you're right,
Mhm.
and chances are you're wrong.
That's true.
And it's the conversation that weeds that out, and you know, it's easier to come to a yes than maybe a no, but some no's are come easy. I'll take that back. It's just as easy to come to a yes than it is to come to a no, and because you're listening to those different factors, and this time around, I had a different facets in the process because before the acquisition meeting, one of the interns with Junkyard Rooster Press was nervous and excited about it. And she was ready to do it, but she was a little bit nervous of how it was going to work. And so we had a Zoom call last Friday, and
Yeah.
I told her, "You've got a great voice. I want to hear it on Tuesday night." And I've talked to her since, and she said, "I had so much fun." But
The
and,
interns
you know,
were great.
yeah,
Really great.
yeah.
They're amazing. In fact, a lot of times I agreed with their comments. I'm like, yeah,
Oh, yeah.
that's yeah.
That was some of the factors that, oh yeah, I missed that. If you're going to go out on that limb and support it to that extent, maybe I need to listen. And I think we all listen. And when it was, I think it was one of the best compliments for that intern on Tuesday night when Peter said, if you're interested in editing this for my imprint, you're in.
Yeah.
And that was just it was on that different level and layer of watching the dynamics on this time around, and it was that was rewarding on a different level, but the whole thing is rewarding on many different levels anyway. And I'll talk to Jill tomorrow. We've got another call planned, and just to debrief it and see exactly, you know, tell me more. But she was very excited, and like Cecilia said, the interns, they had a lot of input to say. They had written it down, and they were ready to defend, which is good.
And I think they should be editing. Actually, I mean, you know, with a mentor, I think they'd be really good at it. All of them, the interns that I saw there, they did great. I think that they would be wonderful addition. You know, with a mentor there, but yeah.
And that is one thing. I mean, honestly, all of our interns got a debrief on what the expectation was in terms of reviewing the submissions, right? So they received heavy coaching on, you know, how to do a review, what kind of feedback to provide. And, you know, the bottom line is be ready to answer the question of why, right? Why did you like it? Why did you not like it? Why did you give it a maybe? And think of it from the perspective of a reader when you're answering that why question. And then to everyone's point, oh my gosh, our intern, they came ready. They were
Yeah,
like,
they did.
they were so honest. I mean, it was just like, and so passionate. Actually, my favorite was, I think, well, at one point, Peter did this as well, but I think at one point, Anna went, oh, no. And I was like, damn. Okay, wait, for real. Because I saw it was like something that had like a yes and like two maybes and, you know, obviously her no. But the no was in all caps,
Emphatic.
where you could hear her without her saying anything going, no, right? So that forced us all to say, okay, wait, so you're clearly passionate about this. Why? Like, why the no? And just listen. And then again, ask those questions of why. So, okay, so, you know, you said X, Y, Z, but can you clarify like more explicitly? And sometimes, actually, I'd say there were several times some of us put maybe, but it was like a soft maybe, or like, you know, a hard maybe, like leaning toward yes, which a lot of times that's really more so a sign of, and I think Peter, you touched on this, it's a sign that there's something that's not quite ringing true, and for whatever reason the person reading the submission hasn't been able to identify, like, what is it that's not quite landing, right?
Mhm.
And it's having that dialogue, or not dialogue, but that conversation. I was surprised the number of times an intern came back, and that sounds horrid, and I apologize in case any of them are watching. But like we're really clearly articulated the why, and where one of us, who's either an acquisition editor or an overall editor, went, that yes, that's it. That's why I said maybe. Okay, yes, all right, now I get it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Cecilia.
That's what I
go
meant
ahead.
to say. I said maybe,
That's
but
what
I
I
meant to
meant
say
to
everything
say.
you just said.
Exactly.
For me,
And
I usually
there's so
put a
many
maybe.
factors.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Oh, for me, I usually put a maybe if it's something that I know I don't normally gravitate towards. Like, I don't normally gravitate towards fantasy. Like, it has to be really over the top for me to like be like, okay, yeah, that's amazing. So I'll put a maybe often with a fantasy, because I'm like, maybe there's something I'm missing. This is not pulling me in, but somebody I know, when I come to the acquisition, somebody's going to want fantasy and is going to argue it. And then, I'll be able to see it. So I always put that maybe in there, especially for fantasy, because I don't want to say no to it right away. I want somebody who's passionate about it and maybe wants it.
Yeah.
And that way it has a fair chance of being acquired if it's supposed to be acquired.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I was headed with there are so many different factors. And one factor is, if we're going through a list of titles and there's just science fiction after science fiction after science fiction, we're going to have to make some decisions, because we do like to diversify the titles for any given year. And so and one thing that is really rewarding is when we see a work that's good but not quite there, and we give that feedback to the author. There's some polish. Feel free to talk to us, but also polish it and resubmit it, because it's there. It's just not there this time around, and for whatever reason. Because I remember one year we had a lot of memoirs, and we finally said, let's not take another one. There's bound to be something else in this list that we can use, and there was.
And I think Peter, you had articulated this previously, or at least on the side. We've had instances where someone submitted something and they'll even say, "This is my first draft," and it's like, yeah, I know. I can tell by reading it. Like, please, don't just throw, it's like puking on a page, right? Don't just throw out there something that, you're like, oh, look, I finished it. Yes, you did. Guess what? All of us have been there. And guess what? That doesn't mean it's ready to actually go to a publisher. It just means that now you have a framework, you have a starting point for you to continue your revisions. And when you hear of authors, and I'm dear friends with a few authors who've been around a long time, and they can churn out books like that. But guess what? They their writing process now for them has a very distinct process that they follow every single time. And even if they basically do, you know, a first draft and then a cleanup, and then they send it to their reader to go over before it goes to the publisher, they've actually, when they say, you know, they have a first draft, they've been reviewing it along the way as well. Like, so this isn't just a puke on a page. I'm sorry, Peter, what were you saying?
Oh, I lost my thought completely after puke on a page.
That'll do it.
Yeah.
That'll do it.
Well, I mean, it's like Shakespeare. Like, the first draft is always shit. You don't send the first draft. You send the draft that you've workshopped, that you've gone over at least a dozen times. You know, comb it, redo it, revise it. We've all done it. I mean, if you think it's great right off the bat, you need to get the workshop or something. I mean, give yourself a break. I mean, because when I started submitting, I mean, I would revise a book 7, 8, 9 times, and it was still not good because I wasn't trained. I wasn't learned in the craft. I had somebody beneficially say, learn your craft. You've got something to say, learn your craft. And I spent the next 10 years of my life learning my craft. So sometimes that's what it takes. Other times you wake up, you crawl out of the bassinet, and also you're an awesome author, but you're still not submitting your first draft. Sometimes people just have it in them. I don't know. Learn your craft.
And with that,
And if we ask,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
if we ask for the full manuscript, send us the full manuscript,
Oh, yes.
not the first 10 pages.
Don't, yeah. And we actually had someone who, we had a couple that they sent like the outline, and I was like, why did you, no, you know, when you're ready, send us the full manuscript, because that's what we're asking you for up front. So and then Suzanne was kind enough to include a link,
there's a link
to the interview. By the way, there are a ton of typos in it, so I apologize up front. Even though I know that I was the person who wrote it, but still, I'm so sorry for all the typos. But with that, thank you everyone for joining us. Again, if you have any questions that you come up with, or if you're watching this after the initial live stream, please just go into the comments section of whatever venue you're watching this. Ask your questions, and we will be thrilled to answer them at the next Run Wild with Us. And you know what? Ask us anything. Ciao, guys.